Bell rolls is the reporter thrown into the secretive world of the Forex Super Model, where nothing is as it seems. Beware the techno monk, and steer clear of Professor Code and his two assistants. Give the senior trader a wide berth, and don't expect any sense from the risk manager.
Good morning, I'm Professor Code. This is the Forex Super Model daily briefing for Monday the 16th of the 8th 2021. The time is coming up to 0445, quarter to 5 in the morning GMT. Asian session coming to a close, European session firing up, our lunchtime North American session. Right, Friday the 13th, then the last full trading day. We had a negative unopposed driver in the dollar at minus 204. No backdoor flows. The opposing positive flows mainly going into the yen at plus 141, into the euro at plus 58, and the pound was the positive rock at plus 5. Activity plus or minus 204. This was off the bat really of this weak Michigan consumer sentiment data on Friday. And then last week as a whole, just for context, then we had a positive opposed driver in the yen at plus 224, front and back door flows mainly coming out the pound at minus 141, out the dollar at minus 95, and the euro was the positive rock at plus 12, activity plus or minus 236. So over the last week we had the yen driving positively, pound weakness, dollar weakness, and a bit of euro strength. And Friday you had that major shift in you had dollar weakness, to the exception of all else really. Intraday then, this is the Asian session to about 15 minutes ago. We've got a positive unopposed driver in the yen, plus 116. No backdoor flows. The opposing positive flows coming equally out of the euro and the pound, minus 42, minus 42. So we've got a joint mover in secondary driver, and we've got a negative rock in the dollar at minus 32. Activity plus or minus 116. Right, so what's going to knock it about, or has knocked it about? Well, we've had positive JPY GDP so far. We've had negative China retail sales, so that sort of set things up. Today is very light data-wise, pretty much nothing now of any note. Tuesday, tomorrow the 17th, we've got GBP employment count, Euro GDP, US retail sales. And Wednesday, the 18th, we've got New Zealand rates decision with the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. So that's sort of looking a bit forward. The main sort of thing the analysts have been going on about is negative AUD and positive JPY at the moment, off the back of this negative China retail sales data and sentiment. So that's where we are. Let's have a look at the flows and the data cycle, not the data the asset classes. So let's get rid of this and start looking at the individual complex flows which is basically what's happened over the Asian session. So let's have a look then. So we've got euro. Euro is strong, except against the dollar and the yen, which is stronger. The yen is strong across the board. The pound is weak, except against the CAD, the AUD and the NZD, commodity currencies. The Swiss is strong, except against the yen, the dollar and the euro. The CAD is weak, except against the AUD and the NZD. The AUD is weak across the board. The NZD is weak, except against the AUD, and the dollar is strong, except against the yen. So what have we got? We've got yen strength across the board, AUD weakness, sort of a classic sort of risk off. scenario at the moment and take your pick in the middle. Right, so let's have a look what's been happening in the asset classes. We'll start with the US dollar index. So US dollar index, right, it's where are we? So US dollar index had that break, it double top basically. It's now 0.20 from the high, so it's 20% from the modelled high. So pretty high, but it's come back about 20% or a fifth. So gold in theory should like that. It's come off, it had a double top, it had that spike lower, and it's now 0.42 from the floor and coming off a little bit, so it's not particularly liking that. And gold's soft. Oil had that big pump up. It's basically looking like that. It's 0.4 from the floor, so that's pretty soft at the moment as well. Wall Street had that sort of treble top. It broke. It's come back slightly, but it's way above the break in the highs. S&P, you've got this break there on top of the previous break, and it's come back slightly. Tech, it's had that break and it's pretty much at the highs. So equities have come off slightly, but they're still pretty high. Right, US 10-year, which is the bond, which is the price of the bond. So it's basically, it had that big ramp up in price, fall off in yields. It's came back and it's now operating at 0.29 from the high in model terms. So it's the price is starting to go back up. So yields are coming off in the US at the moment, and the bond, which is the European equivalent, that's where are we? That had that price break again, yields coming off, and now yields prices coming up, yields are coming off, but not as much as the US. So so basically, the US is starting to weaken at a faster rate than the Europeans in terms of actual rates, but at the moment US yields are slightly stronger than European yields in model terms, but the rate of change is changing. Right, so what have we got? Copper had that long period of chop. It had a break, it came right back and it's chopping, and it's now 0.40 from the floor, so it's not really happening for copper at the moment. And US steel basically had the break, presumably after the infrastructure passing of the American infrastructure bill, and it's now operating above the double top, so it's quite strong for a change. US steel. Right, so let's tidy this up and have a think what's going to happen. Right, obviously the other major event in the world is the Afghanistan situation, which is deteriorating rapidly, or has deteriorated rapidly, with Kabul being taken over by the Taliban, whatever you want to call them. So so that's something to bear in mind and keep an eye on. Right, so let's just grab this. Right, look at the majors: dollar, euro, yen, pound. Let's have a look now. Now Friday, as we said, Friday we had the dollar. The dollar came right off. It was the unopposed negative driver off the back of the Michigan consumer sentiment, and over the week we had yen strength. So that's where we are there. And then last week, just to remind you, the 2nd of the 8th to the Friday, the 6th of the 8th, last week we had euro weakness and dollar strength, pound strength and yen weakness. So that's where we are. And in the Asian session, we're looking at yen strength at the moment. Now bear in mind, and we've also got yen strength to the exclusion of all else in the Asian session. Now if you get a positive unopposed driver in the yen, so you've got the yen operating like this, then, and the rest is negative, then that signifies one of two things. It can either be the start of a further ramp up in the yen, or a peak in the yen. Now, obviously, with the way things are going, we've got a light data day today. We've got quite a bit of data coming through the week, and we've got this sort of risk-off tone in the Asian session with the AUD being hammered and the yen coming right up. But there's going to be a turning point. It's likely that the yen's overpumped. If you look at the weekly review, we were suggesting yen weakness going forward. Now we've got this signal of a peak out, if you like. It's just a case of getting the timing right. So we're looking for the yen to about turn, basically. So we're looking for this negative. We think there's going to be a full complex move in the yen, which is the 7FX pairs, and the yen's going to weaken. But obviously, you've got this timing, you've got this inverted hockey stick sort of arrangement to look out for. And if you get flows coming out of the yen, the likelihood, and the dollar's likely to soften as well. The likelihood you've got positive flows going into the euro. So you've got the euro will be neutral to positive, and the big gainer should be the pound. So pound yen long is something to look at going forward, and euro yen to a lesser extent long. But watch out for this. We're going to be looking at the yen strength and waiting for it to peak out. So there's a possibility that we're going to be in for a full complex weakness in the yen when it decides to do the old turnaround bit, an about turn. So hope that was useful. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow for the daily briefing.